Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of Trauma Recovery University. I am your host, Athena Moberg, and this is my amazing co-host, Bobby Parrish, and tonight's topic is body image issues and eating disorders. We are going to be unpacking all different types of body image issues and different types of eating disorders and give you some startling percentages on how many people that have eating disorders actually also have been sexually abused when they were younger. So I was startled by the statistics, and we're so excited to be here to support you. We want to give a very special welcome to anyone that's tuning in on a podcast platform such as iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spreaker, or iHeartRadio. And we want to remind you that this is a video broadcast. So if you'd like, you can go to YouTube and look for Trauma Recovery University TV, or you can find us on your Roku devices under Trauma Recovery University. And we, as always, we want to thank you for being one of our loyal listeners or viewers, subscribers, or just awesome survivors. And we want to give you, as a thank you, complimentary access to our entire library of downloadable resources. And you can find that by going to traumarecoveryuniversity.com and clicking on the tab that says Downloadables. By the time you're watching this video, if you are not tuning in live, we will have annotations up on the screen where you can click the bottom left of the screen where it says yes, you can click it. It's not there right now. It won't be there until tomorrow, but you can click the screen and it'll take you directly to our website, and you can just click on the tab that says Downloadables. You'll be given immediate instant access to our entire library of 30 or 40 downloadable one-page resources that cover one specific topic of trauma recovery. And Bobby Parrish and myself consider it a privilege for you to have chosen to spend this hour with us. And you are the reason that we show up every week and we keep providing this valuable information for trauma survivors. And we specifically gear these broadcasts towards the adult survivor of childhood sexual abuse, but we do get plenty of emails, tweets, and messages letting us know that the topics we discuss do cross over into other areas of trauma and abuse. So don't be shy. Send us an email or a tweet. We'll be posting our information later on in the broadcast and reading it to you if you happen to be driving. And without further ado, I would love to turn this over to my amazing partner, Bobby Parrish, and she's going to give us some opening announcements, some information about our anthology, a chance for you to be published, and yes, it's free, we don't charge you, and other live events that we have coming up. And before I turn it over to Bobby, I do want to remind you that if you are triggered during this broadcast, whether listening or viewing, it's okay to just press the pause button, and please practice excellent self-care. Self-soothing techniques, if you start to get any type of a dry mouth or sweaty palms or rapid heartbeat or any other signs that you might be having some sort of a trigger or a post-traumatic stress disorder episode, we definitely want to be part of your solution and not part of the problem. So please just press the pause button and come back any other time. We're not going anywhere. We are here for you. So I think that's it for me. Take it away, Bobby.
Hi, everybody. We want to make sure that you have information about our anthology. Every year we publish an anthology of survivors' essays and poetry in November. And we do it in November because November is No More Shame November. And when we put a lot of information out on the web and the internet about surviving childhood sexual abuse, we do a lot of advocacy work during November. So that we decided was a good time to put the anthology out. We had our first one last year, and we had 20 different authors and a total of 25 different essays and poems in the anthology. So we are opening it up for submissions this year. We've already gotten a few. And so we would encourage you to go to the website, traumarecoveryuniversity.com, and there's a tab that says Book. And if you click on that, it gives you all the submission guidelines so that you can go through and read what qualifies, how you need to submit it, and the language that you need to use. You can submit as many essays and poems as you want to, but each one has to come as a separate submission. You can't attach like 10 poems on one email. It gives you the email to submit to. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact us. You can email us at nomoreshameproject@gmail.com. Ask us any questions that you have, and we'd be more than happy to answer them. Sometimes we can't get back to you within 24 hours, but we do get back to you as soon as we can. Also, we want to make sure that you know about our live events coming up. The first weekend in June, I'm looking at my calendar here, it is in Atlanta. That's the 5th, 6th, and 7th of June. And then the second event is in Portland, and it is the 26th, 27th, and 28th of June. Registration should be open very soon. We're in the process of getting the final speakers set up and getting the final agendas together. So be on the lookout for registration. It'll be through Eventbrite. And go ahead and go over to the website, Trauma Recovery University, and sign up for our newsletter. And that way you'll make sure and get the information as soon as it's ready and available, and then you can sign up for one of the conferences. We really want to meet people in person and have a chance to allow you to be in community with other survivors. If you have followed Athena and I for any amount of time, you know that how valuable we feel that is. That being in community with other survivors is just a crucial part of our recovery process. It diminishes our shame, it tells us we're not alone, and it gives us a chance to encourage and support others, as well as being encouraged and supported ourselves. So we do encourage you to take advantage of those live events and come meet us, hear some awesome speakers, get some content, and get some support to tide you over during the year. I can't think of anything else. Did I miss anything?
I don't think,
Athena?
I don't think so. We have some people that are tuning in live. Joe really wishes that she could be in 3 chats at once, but she's in domestic violence chat and in atomic chat, and so she can't tune into us. But I'm telling her that we love her and that she can watch us later because we're recording this. And we have Jack live and we have Melissa live, so we want to say aloha to you guys. We love you. We are totally here to support you. And I do want to make just a special announcement, if I may, Bobby. I know that we talked about this off the air in the green room. I wanted to make a special announcement to you men out there. Men, we love you, and we're here to support you. And there are amazing organizations out there such as 1 in 6, and I know that there are a lot of naysayers that like to complain about all the different organizations and they're this, they're that, and it's all over the place. But we want to let you men know that even if you don't ever reach out to any of those other organizations, we love you and we are here to support you. And if we can breach any topics that are most difficult for you male survivors, we would love for you to email us those topics, send us a tweet, send us a message. Let us know how we can best support you, because that's obviously always our aim. We do have some awesome male survivors in this community, and I just want to pay homage to them and just say how much I appreciate the men out there. It is difficult to be an adult survivor of childhood sexual abuse, and it is very, very difficult sometimes to be an adult survivor of childhood sexual abuse as a male. There are a lot of different stigmas about machismo and anger, etc. And so a little bit of a segue there, but I just wanted to make special mention of the men out there and let you know how much we love you and we support you, and you can reach out to us anytime. I think that's the only thing I wanted to say.
Yeah, our hope is that eventually we will have enough men who are interested in doing a men-only, a males-only private secret Facebook group. Right now we don't have enough numbers, so if you're out there and you're listening and you haven't come forward and let us know that you listen or that you need support, we would encourage you to do that, because we are truly hoping that we can put together a male-only support group. We have a mixed gender support group. We have females only, but we haven't had enough men come forward who want to do male only. So let us know if you're out there, if you're interested, and we would love to set that up. So just let us know. Okay. Yeah. Tonight we're talking about eating disorders and body image disorders. And sometimes we don't think of body image as having a disorder attached to it, and it certainly can. There is something called dysmorphia, body dysmorphia disorder, and that is when we are focused on flaws, that just flaws in our body, flaws in our appearance, flaws in how we look, that to other people seem to be very minor issues, or that they don't see at all. It's something that we have magnified in our mind, and when we have body dysmorphia disorder, we can have a lot of self-hatred and self-loathing about our body. And that is certainly an issue that survivors struggle with, because our body was an integral part of our abuse. So it's not abnormal for survivors to grow up hating their bodies and at the very least being uncomfortable in their own skin. And that's kind of a phrase that's come into popularity, I know, in the last, maybe 5 or 6 years, being uncomfortable in your own skin. But you generally you don't have a lot of care for your body. You don't particularly like it. We're not the kind of people that are generally the ones out on the beach in the bikini. We're probably the ones that are covered from head to toe in a wrap or a towel. But it makes sense, because we grew up in a situation where our body was an integral part of our abuse. Sometimes, I know last week we talked a little bit about how sometimes our bodies have automatic responses to the ways that we were abused when we were children. And sometimes, I have survivors talk to me sometimes about how their bodies responded when they were abused, and that it almost seemed like they enjoyed it. And yet the reality was that they absolutely did not. They did not want it to happen, and they would have loved for it to stop. And in that instance, people can really feel like their body betrayed them, that their body responded in a way that almost repels and disgusts them. So in that way, they're not happy with their body. And this morning in chat, we talked about how sometimes eating disorders can be a way of punishing ourselves, punishing our bodies for the ways that we feel like they betrayed us. Or perhaps I know that part of my abuse was being told that I caused it to happen, that I seduced my abuser, and that it was my fault. And so, of course, that leaves me uncomfortable with my own body. That leaves me unhappy before I've had a chance to heal that piece. Obviously, after you've done the work, you're not going to feel that way. But before you do your work, you might very much feel like, there's just so much intermingled there between the abuse and your body, that eating disorders and body image issues seem like a natural consequence. And this morning in chat, I talked about how 50% of people who have eating disorders are childhood sexual abuse survivors. And people were a little shocked that the numbers were that high. But when you sit and you look at why people develop eating disorders and what that's all involved with, again, given what our bodies went through, sometimes eating disorders, they are ways for us to punish ourselves. They're also, it's a big way for us to control something in our lives, have control over something when, for the most part, the rest of our lives, we don't feel like we have control over. We can control the food that we let come into our body. We can control the way that we perhaps let it go, perhaps in the instance of bulimia, where we do the purging. So any way that we can have control of our bodies, of our food intake, then it's almost comforting. It helps us feel better to be in control of something. And another issue that makes it almost natural for us to develop eating disorders is that eating can actually chemically help us to feel a little bit better. When you put those carbs in your body, when you put that, things like chocolate, we've all talked about how chocolate releases those happy endorphins in your mind. Sugar can help us feel in an immediate okay, but obviously after a while we get the crash. Food is comforting to many of us. I know that I eat when I'm stressed. I eat when I'm distressed because food is comfortable. And unlike people, food doesn't let me down. Food's always there. And so it's a safe, comforting thing to turn to. So in that respect, all of those different things just set us up for eating disorders and body image issues. And that's why I think when you look at it and you unpack those issues, it's not incredibly surprising that 50% of people who have eating disorders were sexually abused as children. In fact, this morning in chat I was talking about how educators are often trained that food issues are one of the indicators that a child might be being abused at home. So teachers and workers within the school districts are looking for children who have issues with food, issues with eating, and that's one way that they see it, one thing they see as a red flag for children who are being abused at home, whether that's sexual abuse or neglect, physical abuse, emotional, verbal abuse. Athena, does that make sense? Does that help to make that statistic a little more understandable, do you think?
Yes, I do. I do think that it makes it a little bit more understandable. And I mean, I just agree with everything that you said. And I think a lot of people, I mean, obviously, we've talked about this at length, off the air. But a lot of people out there seem to be astonished. I know I was astonished by this statistic because I had it flip-flopped. Like I thought the statistic was 50% of adult survivors of childhood sexual abuse have developed an eating disorder. And then when the statistic was actually swapped, and it's actually 50% of the people out there that have eating disorders were actually survivors.
Yeah.
And it was astonishing for me, and I could relate so much to the things that people were saying. I really want to talk about some of the tweets that were shared during chat this morning, this evening if you're in the UK. And if you are in the UK and you're tuning in live right now, I just want to give you a very special welcome because I know it's 2 or 3 in the morning. So, but some of the things that were said during chat this morning, and we do cover some of these in our one page, which we'll go over later at length, but things like, I avoid mirrors. I don't like the way I look in the mirror. I wish I could stay covered up at all times, like Bobby was mentioning earlier.
Yeah.
I live in Hawaii, where everyone runs around in bikinis, and there are a specific kind of bikini that are very popular right now here on Maui. They're called pakaloha, and they're the kind that they're not a G-string, but they go up and like into like a V shape, like inward, so that the most of your behind is actually exposed.
Oh, okay. Wow.
And yeah, it's very, 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 very skimpy here. And interestingly, what came up for me during chat this morning, which I have not talked about with anyone ever, have never even mentioned it, I was thinking back to before I got married, and I used to go to the beach and wear a bikini. I was, quote unquote, comfortable in my own skin. I ate very healthy. I exercised daily. I did marathons and half marathons, and I was overall like the healthiest I have ever been. And then I started dating, and it was great. I still rather, felt very comfortable in my own skin. It wasn't until my husband and I got married and we decided, well, obviously when you're married, you're consummating your marriage, you're having sex. We waited until we got married to have sex. And as soon as we got married and sex was part of the picture, I started covering up. Like I would wear full-blown cover-ups that would like long dresses down to my ankles, and just before we got married, I actually had some skin issues that were happening where I would get some blisters from the sun. So I was covering up from that, but I actually use that to this day as an excuse to cover up all the time, no matter what, because I'm concerned about my skin. But deep down, if we're all being honest, and I'm just being 100% real with you guys, the reality is I'm terrified to show my body. I'm terrified to show my legs and my ankles and my knees and my stomach and my arms, and I'm terrified. You all see me from here up and I'm fully clothed, and rarely do you ever see me show any skin. This is like, this is skin. This is me showing a lot of skin right here. So, and that's my arm. So, but yeah, I just feel like there are a lot of people out there right now. There are some people that are viewing this today, tomorrow, 3, 5, 10, 30 years from now. And I just want to tell you that you're not alone.
Right.
You thought you were fine. You thought you were totally fine. You were healthy. You were comfortable in your own skin. And then all of a sudden you got married, or you're in a relationship that turned sexual, and then you're acting in ways that are contrary to the way you're used to acting, and you're confused by that. Why don't I like to look in the mirror? Why do I feel fat all the time? Why do I think that everything about me is gross? Why don't I like the way my clothes fit? Why don't I like my skin? Why do I hate everything about my body? And the chances are you're either A, a survivor of abuse that you don't remember because you probably have black spots where there should be memories, or maybe they're fuzzy, and so you're thinking, well, I had to make that memory up because that could have never happened, or else I would really remember it. So you could be a survivor of abuse. You could have some sort of a body image issue or disorder. Both of the above, none of the above. You could just be none of the above, and maybe you just tuned into this out of curiosity and now you're starting to remember some things. So we just want you to know that you're not alone, and that we're here and we understand, and we have issues with food. We eat for comfort. We overeat. I was anorexic in high school as a teenager, where I would not eat. I would control everything. The food I had available to me at the house was not always good, so I would just rather starve myself, or I would purchase Slim Fast with money that I got from selling candy. So I would live on Slim Fast, and then into my 20s, I became bulimic, but I didn't have enough courage to make myself throw up, so I just spent all my money on laxatives. So I talk about that at length in an interview that's here on our YouTube channel, where Kendra Tanner from Real Raw and Related actually interviews me. It was the first time I'd ever spoke about my eating disorder ever in my whole life. So, and into my 30s, I mean, after I was bulimic in my 20s, I was so terrified by how I had destroyed my body that now I'm afraid. I'm afraid to do anything. I'm afraid to take fiber. I'm afraid to buy laxatives even if I need it. I'm afraid to really be too overly like, oh, I shouldn't eat that because I might get anorexic again. So it all just sort of, the pendulum swings so far in the opposite direction. I really need to be in the scary middle. I really need to be eating normal, exercising normal, and having everything in moderation, and that's where we all need to be residing. But instead, I'm either over here where I'm taking laxatives and starving myself, or I'm over here and I'm eating for comfort and I'm just sort of letting myself go. And that's just my reality. That's me. I'm broken just like you, and I'm in recovery just like you, and I don't have it all figured out, but I'm committed to figuring it out and to being healthy. Yeah. So I'm in the journey with you, and so is Bobby, and I'm going to get off my soapbox now.
Well, I know we're not talking about this, but I really want to point out to people that your experience of having worked through so many of your issues and then having things return when you get married is not atypical. I have had survivors bring this up before with me. They're like, wait a minute, I was doing so well, but then I got in a relationship, then I got married, and everything went awful. Meaning that their issues started coming back up again. And the reason that is because our abuse happened in a relationship. And so working on our own, we can work on everything that we can control. But then we get into a relationship with someone, and especially when it becomes a sexual relationship, then it brings up all those issues that we could not heal because we were on our own. And so now you have another layer of issues to resolve because things are now happening that remind you of what happened during your abuse when you were a child. So it's not, I know it's awful, I know it feels horrible, and it probably doesn't feel that much better for me to tell any of you that that's typical. But I guess more than anything, I just want you to know that if that's your experience, if that's what's happened to you, it's not because you're not a good survivor. It's not because you've done anything wrong or that you're flawed or you didn't work your recovery well enough. It is just the nature of the beast. We can only heal so much solo. And then we have to, damage that is done in a relationship needs to be healed in a relationship. And so when you marry, when you become sexually active with a partner again, that is uncomfortable, but it's also an opportunity to heal so much that you have not been able to heal when you're working on your own and doing your own work. So I want to make sure that all of you know you're not alone. It's not because you've done anything wrong. It's just the nature of healing from childhood sexual abuse. And that even includes if you were physically, verbally, emotionally assaulted as a child. That can all come back up again when you are in relationship as well. Athena talked about her experience with bulimia and anorexia, and I have binge eating disorder. So I have spent years of my life dealing with that. You know, and some of it, for me, it's a compulsion. So I truly and honestly feel like I don't always have control over it. Okay, so I rarely have control over it. I'm still very much working through my recovery on that. And some of that is because binge eating disorder is just beginning to be realized and recognized as a disorder. And there's a special kind of stigma that comes from people who have binge eating disorder, and that's because we are generally overweight. We don't purge. We don't limit our food, obviously. Binge eating disorder means that you are eating an enormous amount of food in a very small amount of time. So I have been known to do things like sit down with a package of Oreo cookies and eat the whole thing in one sitting, and then still be looking around for something else to eat. It's eating until you feel sick, because somehow it feels like that's going to make everything okay. It's going to ease the pain. I'm especially triggered to do things like that at night because nights are my worst times. And I've talked to survivors before about this, and it seems to be kind of universal. Nighttime is the worst. That's when the demons come out, and that's when I feel most unsafe. So that's when I eat. I mean, you know, I can remember Oprah Winfrey talking on television one time about her struggles with binge eating and about how one night she was looking for something sweet to eat, and she didn't have anything in the house except hot dog buns and maple syrup. And so she poured the maple syrup over the hot dog buns and she ate them. I have done crazy things like that just because I was so compelled to eat something sweet to stave off that pain that I felt inside me. And I know that people look at me and see that I'm overweight and think I have no willpower, or I'm just lazy, and if I just exercised, everything would be okay. The reality is that's not true for me. I have gone up and down my entire life with my weight. 10 years ago, I lost 100 pounds. and then I got divorced, and everything went to heck in a handbasket. Um, and there's not a lot of treatments yet available for people with binge eating disorder. I've never been able to get any help, so it's all on my own. Um, and I know that there are a lot of people out there who suffer with eating disorders, and so we want to let you know that you're not alone. Athena has had her journey. I've had my journey. Neither one of us have arrived. We both still struggle. So if you are watching this video, if you are recognizing some of these things in yourself, we had someone even say this morning in chat, wait a minute, I have an eating disorder, and I never thought that it was tied to my childhood sexual abuse. But now that you're saying these things, I understand. For the first time in my life, I understand that my eating disorder is tied to my childhood sexual abuse. So if this is you, if you're just beginning to understand, or you've known for years that those two things were tied together, you are not alone. Athena and I are so much there with you, and still making that journey. We're going to go over the one page here in a few minutes, but I want to make sure that everyone understands that eating disorders can be lethal. Eating disorders can also do permanent damage to your body. And so we want to make sure that you understand that we support you in seeking help. And we don't play around with this. Okay? Eating disorders can be very, very, very serious. In fact, ironically, binge eating disorders are the most lethal of all of the eating disorders. When I found that out, I was surprised, because we hear so much about anorexia and bulimia turning fatal, but binge eating disorder actually kills the most people of all eating disorders. So please get some help, especially if you are beginning to suffer health consequences, if you're dropping a lot of weight, if you're purging really frequently, if your eating is out of control and you feel compelled to eat and feel like you don't have a lot of control over those binging episodes, please seek help. Even if it's just going to your general practitioner, to your family doctor, and asking for help. I can remember asking for help in college, and the health center sent me to Jenny Craig because their decision was that I just didn't have enough willpower, and they didn't understand that it was an eating disorder. Keep reaching out until you find someone that understands and has compassion and will help you. Talk to a therapist, talk to your doctor, talk to a psychiatrist, go online, get some resources, whatever you need to do. But eating disorders are not anything to dismiss. And we don't want anyone out there to feel like it's just a willpower issue or weak character. And if you could just, get it under control, everything's going to be fine. So please know that we support you 100%, and we really encourage you to get help. We don't want anyone out there to die from an eating disorder because they can be lethal. Athena, do you have anything else that you want to add before we go and look at the one page?
I think I just want people to know that it is so difficult. It's one of those, having body image issues is one of those things that affects you on a daily basis.
Yes.
And if you look in the mirror one day and you say, wow, I look really good, that's a good day. That's a win. And if you have more days than not, you're sort of like, oh, I just can't stand my body. Oh my gosh, I need to suck this in. I need to turn this way. I need to only do this. And you're just sort of obsessing over it. You're not alone. You're not alone, because I struggle with the same thing. It takes me, I'm pretty obsessive about having my photograph taken. When I went to, I only want to share this one little story and then we can go into our one page, Bobby. I got invited to Minnesota for a family reunion of my husband's family, and I got to meet some of them for the very first time. And there was one of the gals, I believe it was his cousin, one of his cousins, and she and I had met on Facebook, and we had messaged back and forth. Well, she had this wonderful way of going around and catching candid photos of everyone at the family reunion. Like when you weren't looking, she was taking pictures of you and posting them on Facebook.
Oh.
And like, because it was like the family reunion from her perspective. She was so excited to see everyone together. And I was raised, and I mentioned this in chat, and I just have not mentioned it during this live broadcast because it's super painful. I was raised in an environment where I was used as currency. I was exploited. I was traded for things, or if I looked perfect enough, my mom would get special attention.
Right.
And so I was raised in an environment where I remember one time I cut my own hair, and my mom almost killed me with her bare hands. She literally picked me up out of the bed with her bare hands and beat my head against the wall and almost choked me to death until someone stopped her. And if I bit my fingernails, I had to go to school with a Ziploc baggie of horse manure and dip my fingers in the horse manure because they were convinced that I needed to stop biting my fingernails because it made my hands look ugly. And I had to go to the orthodontist from 3rd, 4th grade all the way through high school to make sure my teeth were perfect because my appearance had to be perfect. And that's a lot of pressure to have on you from such a young age, from the time you're pre-memory. I mean, I have a picture of me that I shared during episode 1 or 2 on the day of my first communion, and I was biting my fingernails and I got in trouble. Well, it was time for me to get out of the car to go in to do my first communion, and I was dressed in this perfect frilly little white dress, and I look like a little angel, like a little Cupid doll. And so my finger got slammed in the car door, but since I looked so perfect, they wanted me to stop crying for a minute so they could take a picture of me. And so I was like I tried so hard to stop crying to look perfect for their photograph. And then when they were done with the photograph, I got to relax and start crying again because my hand had just gotten slammed in a car door. So that kind of pressure to be put under at such a young age, to be told that you needed to look perfect, or not even to be told, but to have like this silent knowing that if you did anything that didn't look perfect on the outside, that really messes with your head. That's why eating disorders are a mental disorder. It messes with your head. It's not a physical disorder. It turns into a physical disorder when you start controlling your food, and it destroys your body and your colon and your stomach and your intestines because you take laxatives or starve yourself or make yourself throw up and rot your teeth out of your face. But this isn't something to be taken lightly. And Bobby and I are not medical doctors who are professionals in the area of eating disorders. We are simply just sharing our true stories with you to educate you and to tell you that you're not alone and that there's help out there. And even if you don't know where to get help, you could reach out to us and say, that's me, could you please just talk to me? And we'll talk to you. And if we can refer you to someone that is a helping professional that's trauma informed that can help you, we certainly will. So I just want you to know that you're not alone. And it's okay if you don't like your picture taken. It's okay if you are introduced to your husband's whole family and you go apeshit on your new family member and say, you better not be posting any pictures of me on Facebook that I don't look at first. Because I literally was not very nice. I'm pretty much a nice person all the time, but I was like, you know you're not posting that on Facebook, right? Like, you know you're deleting that, right? I was not nice. I mean, you guys know that I'm pretty much real with you all the time, and I'm 90-something% of the time usually pretty a nice person, but I felt violated. It was like I was being violated all over again, like I was being exploited, and I was not okay. I was clearly not okay at that moment. So, yeah, I tried to smooth it over, but I don't know if I really did. So, yeah.
Well,
I just wanted to share those stories.
Well, there's another reason to do what I do, which is barely ever leave your house. Then you don't have problems like that.
I don't leave my house a whole awful lot, but you know, I yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, it's better if if I'm in a controlled environment. I work from home. I see my clients here. I see my clients here, and I see my clients here, and I'm comfortable in my own house. But yeah, in that odd moment when you got to go to the grocery store or a family reunion or Thanksgiving, we have videos for that too, guys. So yeah, but you're not alone. And just when you
No.
think you have the craziest story ever and that you're the weirdest one ever, reach out to one of us. We'll make you feel better. I mean,
We've got those
seriously,
bases covered.
we do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's take a look at our one page. And just to reiterate what Athena said earlier, our one pages, they're just simply one sheet of information about the topic that we're covering this week. So the first half is usually educational material, and the bottom half is usually tips for coping. And what we wanted to do, the reason we put these together, is because we wanted you to have access to resources to help you in your recovery that are quick and easy to digest and quick and easy strategies to implement so that you can feel better today. We know that the journey to recover is long and it's very hard, and there are times when it just feels so lousy that we can't do one more day. And we get it, and so our hope was to put together one sheet of information for each topic that we cover that will give you some tips that you can put into place now. Today's one page does not have a lot of tips to it, and that's because my biggest tip is seek help. Again, eating disorders are not something to mess around with, and we would really encourage you to get help from a professional because you're worth it. Okay?
You are worth
Maybe
it.
no one, yes, maybe someone has never told you that. Maybe they've told you the exact opposite, but you're worth it. You're worth being healthy. You're worth getting help. You're not attention-seeking. You're not character-flawed. You're not weak-willed. You're not lazy. You have a medical condition, a mental health issue that deserves time and attention. So don't let anybody tell you different, and if they tell you that, that means you go find someone else.
Yeah. I know that you're pulling up the one page right now, Bobby. I just wanted to share with you guys. I know that I mentioned this on a previous episode, but I wanted to tell you guys I have a photograph of me when I was at my thinnest, skinniest weight, and it's absolutely disgusting to look at. You can see my ribs, you can see the bones in my legs pretty much, but I was never skinny enough. I was obsessed with, I only would eat non-fat turkey on non-fat bread using non-fat mayo, and I would drink non-fat milk with a little bit of Hershey syrup in it because it didn't have any fat, and that was all I would eat. Maybe once a day I would only allow myself like one meal a day, and the rest was just water. And I didn't know I was sick until my dad took me out for Mother's Day on right around my son's second Mother's Day. I want to say he was about 2 years old. And we had just come from Olin Mills, one of those fancy family photographers where you go and they, do the glamour lighting and make you look so beautiful. And we had taken family photos, and we went to a restaurant called Red Lobster.
Yeah.
And I actually allowed myself to eat a normal meal, Bobby. I allowed myself to have some crab legs and a little bit of a shrimp cocktail, and my body's response to me allowing myself to eat normal food was that I was doubled over in excruciating pain. I couldn't walk. I had to be carried to the car. And my son was terrified, and he didn't know what was wrong with me. What's wrong with my mama? What's wrong?
Right.
And it's heartbreaking for me to think about that I put my son through that because I was so sick, and I didn't even know it. So don't wait until you're doubled over needing to be carried out of a restaurant before you reach out and get help for an eating disorder, because it's nothing to mess around with. My body that was 20 to 25 years ago. My body is still messed up from when I was going through that period of my life. So my body still hasn't recovered from the damage that I did to it. So please don't allow yourself to damage your body in such a way that that you don't reach out and get some help.
Yes, so that it's irreparable and the damage is permanent.
Yeah.
Let us look at the one page. And let's see here. Okay. I'm going to do this the right way on my multi-step process here.
You're awesome.
Yahoo! I did it. Okay.
It looks so beautiful.
I love these. I write up the content and Athena makes them look amazing. So, okay. So, body image issues and eating disorders, one page. And it's going to reiterate a lot of the things that we talked about earlier. As survivors whose childhood were often chaotic and out of control, it isn't surprising that some of us cope with those circumstances by controlling our food. We had to find something we could control. And even though some of us were restricted food as children, and Athena talks about how sometimes she was not allowed food in her home, or sometimes there wasn't a lot of good food, but more often than not, there is at least some food that we are given. And therefore, it's one thing that we can always have and always have control over. So because of that, and because of our abuse, we tend to dislike our bodies and be uncomfortable in our own skin. But at the same time, it to me is an absolute understatement to say that nobody ever taught us healthy coping skills or healthy self-soothing techniques, because they were too busy doing their own thing and they were too busy taking advantage of us, and nobody cared whether we could self-soothe or whether we could cope. That was the farthest thing from their mind. They were trying to figure out how they were going to self-soothe and cope with their own issues. And that's why we're prime candidates for developing eating and body image disorders that need to have some control. Please let me have control over something. The dislike of our bodies because our body was integrally involved in our abuse. And then that inability to develop healthy coping skills and healthy self-soothing skills in our childhood. And because of that, I think it's easy when you know that to understand that 50% of people with eating disorders were sexually abused as children. So let's look at the 4 different kinds of eating disorders and then the one body image disorder. Okay, yeah. Anorexia is probably the one that we hear the most about. And I got these definitions with the exception of binge eating disorder because I know that one by heart from the Mayo Clinic website.
I love the Mayo Clinic website when you're looking up anything, especially anything mental health related. It's very mobile friendly as well. So if you guys ever need to look anything up, Mayo Clinic website is awesome.
It is. And all of their information is vetted by medical professionals. So it's not something that they sit down, there's some secretary sitting down writing these up. It's all, you can be assured that it's all reputable, vetted information. So anorexia is an eating disorder characterized by an abnormally low body weight, an intense fear of gaining weight, and a distorted perception of body weight. And Athena touched on this earlier when she said she didn't realize how thin that she was. She still looked at herself and thought that she was heavy. And that is a classic sign of anorexia. I have seen before, I did a little bit of work on a psychiatric ward in Portland just after getting my degree, and one of the wards that I did some work on was geared towards teenage girls with eating disorders, and they were both bulimic and anorexic, and they had the girls draw a full length, they got a huge piece of butcher paper, and they had them draw out how they saw themselves. So if they were laying down on the paper, how big would their body be? And then they actually laid down on the paper and had somebody trace them. And the difference between how big these girls thought they were and how big they actually were was shocking. So people with anorexia truly do look at themselves and see themselves as needing to lose weight. I'm getting a bit of an echo here, and I'm trying to get rid of it.
Oh, I definitely don't hear it.
Okay, good.
Yeah. But I know that it probably is driving you a little bit crazy. If you want me to read, let me know.
I don't care if it drives me crazy. I just don't want it to be on the recording.
Oh.
Well, as bulimia is the act of eating and sometimes binging on large amounts of food. Binging is never something that someone with anorexia would do, but it is something with someone with bulimia or binge eating disorder would do. So sometimes they binge on large amounts of food and then they purge. When I was doing this research, it was the first time I realized that purging isn't necessarily only limited to laxatives and vomiting. It can be things like excessive exercise. Any unhealthy way of getting rid of that food and those calories is considered to be purging. So I thought that was interesting, and that to me that opens up that category to more people.
Oh yeah.
One of the things that Mayo Clinic also said is that one of the differences between anorexia and bulimia is anorexics are usually underweight, whereas people with bulimia are typically of an average body weight. They don't have the same distortion of body image that people with anorexia seem to. And then there's binge eating disorder, which is the act of compulsively. So compulsion is a part of all of these. Compulsion is something that you feel like you don't have any control over. You are compelled to eat. You are compelled to purge. You are compelled to starve yourself. During that period in my life when I lost 100 pounds in a year, there were times that I literally would prowl, pace back and forth in my house because I wanted to eat so badly, but I knew I shouldn't. But I couldn't get rid of that awful compulsion, so I would just pace back and forth in my house because that was the only way I knew how to cope with that feeling. And then we have body dysmorphic disorder. And that is, and you'll notice here the word they put in was chronic. And that means long-term. A long-term mental illness in which you can't stop thinking about a flaw in your appearance. A flaw that's either minor or imagined. Okay, so it might be that you see yourself as morbidly obese, when in fact maybe you could lose 5 pounds, but that'd be about it. But to you, your appearance is so shameful that you don't want to be seen by anyone. And that was something that Athena talked about earlier, and in chat this morning, we had people talking about if I could only cover myself from head to toe, I would, but the reality is that would call more attention to me than not doing so would. And treatment for these disorders involves learning healthy ways to cope with distressing emotions and stressors rather than unhealthy eating. The triggers that lead to our disordered eating and thinking, body acceptance, learning how to accept our bodies and be comfortable in our own skin, and then learning healthy eating behaviors. How many calories should I take in a day? How many grams of protein? How many servings of vegetables? What is a healthy way to eat? And then the last part again, eating disorders can be lethal. Eating disorders can lead to permanent damage of your body. Please seek professional help and know that you're worth it. So there we go.
Yeah. Jack was tweeting about some really healthy strategies for those of you who are struggling with eating disorders, and he was talking about exercise and strength training, and that was a really healthy coping strategy for him. Although there is a caveat to that, and that is you can get obsessive about that if you are in the bulimic category, and I believe he or someone just also mentioned that those of us that have those sugar cravings, I know that Linnea actually mentioned that sugar addiction is very common, but nobody really talks about it. Like someone just tweeted out just now that Halloween and Easter are difficult times for them because of all the chocolate and the sweets that are so everywhere.
Right.
You know?
You know, and it's hard with the food issue because it's not like when you have an alcohol or a drug addiction, you just cut those things out of your life. And then, and I know it's not that easy, but we can cut those things from our life and then the temptation is limited. But you can't cut food out of your life.
No, you can't. Everybody needs food.
Right. So you're surrounded by triggers and stressors on a constant basis. And it's hard. It really is. It's a challenge. And I appreciate that Jack is chiming in because I know for men, they develop eating disorders, and sometimes for men the distortions can come in a need to use steroids, a needs to over-exercise, body build. It's not necessarily all about becoming thin as it is maybe bulking up and having the perfect macho body.
Yeah.
So, different issues out there. But
there
again,
are. I mean, for men and women have the sort of like the opposite ends of the spectrum, like you were saying.
Yeah, but again, it all comes back to those similar issues of using food to cope, being unhappy with our bodies, and trying to find something to control in our environment so that we can at least have something to hang on to in the midst of all the chaos.
Yeah.
And abuse and recovery can feel chaotic.
Well, yeah, any type of recovery can feel chaotic because it is difficult for us to control. We can't control the outcome. All we can do is our best one day at a time.
Right.
And if you are struggling with any type of a body dysmorphic issue or an eating disorder, you know that you don't lose all your weight or gain all your weight back overnight. Like you can't get that instant gratification, that instant result that you're looking for. So it can be very, very, very triggering, and the lack of control that you have over the results can be very reminiscent of the lack of control you had over your environment when you were incurring your abuse. So it can be very triggering for you. The whole thing is just a big ball of triggers. So this is a really difficult topic for very many people. I know some people tweeted in that they are going to definitely need to watch at a later time because it was just too triggering, and we just want to honor you in that, and we want to say thank you for taking good care of yourself. You deserve it, and if we can support you in any way, please let us know. We have some awesome topics coming up in the next week or two. We're going to be discussing money issues, and we're going to be discussing low cost to no cost mental health care or mental health support, which is what Bobby and I do. Bobby and I show up every week and we provide mental health support. I volunteer on social media several hours per day, just providing help for people that need an outlet. They need to share. They have a question. They don't know what to do. Is this normal? Am I normal? What's going on? Do you deal with this type of issue? Both of us spend every single day of our lives wanting to reach out to you guys and support you in whatever way possible we can. So In order for us to keep doing that, please click the like button. Please share this with someone that you know, or tweet it out, or share it on Facebook or social media or your email list or what have you. We appreciate your support. And we are going to be posting in just a moment our weekly schedule on how you can contact us and join in the fun, interact with us live, be a part of our weekly chats and live broadcasts. And we're going to put up our contact information for our email, websites, social media, etc. And on my website, I do have a voicemail feature. I love getting voicemails from you guys. It is awesome to hear your voice, and put a voice with the face and the name and the tweet and everything. So I think I want to possibly put a voicemail feature up on our project website, Bobby. I think that'd be a really good addition.
Yeah, on Trauma Recovery University. Up there I am.
Yeah.
Okay, let's look at this. I am having all sorts of problems here. Dink.
Oh, it looks great.
Okay.
There you go.
This is our contact information on Twitter. And I'm going to read these out loud because I know we have a lot of people listening on podcasts. So on Twitter, I am Truth is Hers. As Athena mentioned earlier, she is Athena Moberg. And then we have Trauma Recovery University is Trauma Recovery U. You can reach me by email at bobbylparish@gmail.com. Athena is at athenamoberg.com. And then my website is bobbyparish.com. Athena is athenamoberg.com. And traumarecoveryuniversity.com. On Facebook, we have Trauma Recovery University page, and Athena has a fan page at Athena Moberg fan page. I have a business page at Bobby Parish Coaching and Consulting, and then we each have our individual personal Facebook pages, which we would love for you to friend us. I'm Bobby.Parish, and she is Dawn Athena Moberg. Let's see. Let's look at the other one now.
Our weekly schedule on how you can join us.
Yes. Yay!
Yay!
Athena, do you want to read this one?
Oh, sure. That'd be awesome. Oh, I think you have to present to all.
I do. I know.
Otherwise,
there we go.
My face pops up instead of what people really need. They don't need my face. Okay, so you can join us every week. We are so happy that you're here, and every single Monday you can use the hashtag CSAQT on Twitter, and that stands for Child Sex Abuse Question Time. The time in the United States is 10 o'clock a.m. Pacific or 1 p.m. Eastern, and the time in the UK is 6 o'clock p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, and sometimes we have about 2 weeks or something where we get a little bit wonky with daylight savings time, spring forward, fall back. The UK does it, so do we, but we do it a week or two apart.
Yeah.
It's a little bit confusing. So if you go on to our private Facebook pages and you friend us, or you tweet us, then we'll let you know for sure, exactly what time. We usually update Twitter before we update anything else.
Yeah, Twitter's always correct. Almost.
Yeah.
Correct.
Almost always correct. Huh? And so every Tuesday, the original Sex Abuse Chat, where this all began with our dear friend, Rachel Thompson, who is an award-winning best-selling author. And that is every single Tuesday, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 9 p.m. Eastern, and again, that is, I believe, 2 o'clock in the morning Greenwich Mean Time on Wednesdays. You can participate on Twitter using the hashtag SexAbuseChat. Please send us a message if you would like to join our private secret Facebook group. And I might have to switch up this page a little bit. Apparently, we have a lot of people that have been sending us messages that want to join our private secret Facebook groups. In order for that to happen, we have to be friends on Facebook. And so friend us first. Reach out, friend us, Bobby.Parish or Dawn Athena Moberg, and then send us a private message and say, hey, I'd like to be invited to one of your private secret Facebook groups. And then, since we're already friends, it's one step. The vetting process to get invited to one of our private secret Facebook groups, and I know that the word vetting is probably, like, ooh, they're going to turn me down. We do take privacy very seriously when it comes to our groups. And so in an effort to keep everyone in the group, or plural groups, safe, we do require that you share your story with us. We don't broadcast it to the world or tell anybody else about it, but we do need to hear your survivor story. We need to hear your truth, and we need to know where you are in the recovery process, or if you have even decided to start your recovery process. And you have to be willing to open up and be transparent and share that with us in order to be invited into one of our private secret Facebook groups. So we love you. We welcome you. Just be prepared to share with us one-on-one in private. So again, Roku TV, we love you, Roku TV people. And if you would please rate our channel, that would be incredible. We have almost all 5-star ratings, and I just can't thank you guys enough. We're humbled and honored. You can watch us anytime 24/7 on Roku TV at Trauma Recovery University. New episodes every Monday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, 2 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time. Usually that might actually be one day. There might be a one-day delay time on Roku. Trauma Recovery University, you can watch us at bit.ly/Trauma Recovery U, or you can just simply go to traumarecoveryuniversity.com or nomoreshame.project.com, and right there on our front page you will find our video of the week, whichever episode we have done. Again, there is a one-day delay because our assistant does all of our transcribing and annotations, so we appreciate your patience. We love you guys. Thank you so much for joining us. I know we're running out of time.
Yeah, we got another.
Did I miss anything, Bobby?
I don't think so. We got another message today from a woman who starts her day by watching TRU on Roku. So I thought that was really interesting.
Gosh.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Oh, that is so heartwarming.
Yes. So thank you, everyone, for letting us know that you are finding the resources and they're helpful. We'll keep putting them out.
Yeah. And we do look forward to seeing you guys live. I just want to give you a little reminder. Atlanta, Georgia, High Potential Live. It's all about reaching your highest potential in spite of wherever you've been. You could be an abuse survivor, domestic violence survivor. You can come from prison. You can be in the worst possible situation, and it is possible for you to reach your highest potential. So that's in Atlanta, Georgia. Beginning of June, we have an event in Portland. Love the PDX. That's at the end of June, and we are still gathering some information on location and trying to maybe partner with some of the ladies at the university and really get the community involved in that Portland event. So don't miss this opportunity, you guys, to get published with us. Last year, it was such an honor to be published with so many of you, hearing your true stories of your survivorship and just the abuse that you went through and how you've overcome. And it's just an honor to be published with you. And this year's topic is together, meaning survivors that are in community with one another and how being in community with one another has helped you in your recovery journey. So please don't miss this opportunity to be published with us. Bobby and I and Rachel and several other amazing, amazing survivors are going to publish more of our truth coming this November. And you have, I think, just another month or two to submit. So please, please, please email us, nomoreshame.project@gmail.com. Go to Trauma Recovery University or nomoreshame.project.com. Click on the word book and look at what you need to do. It's free. Don't miss this opportunity to get published through Booktrope. They're our publisher. So I feel like I might be forgetting something, Bobby. You're always so good at remembering everything.
No, I think we're good.
All right. Well, thank you so much, you guys, for tuning in. We love you. You're the reason we show up every single week. And if we can support you in any way, please just reach out to us. See you next time.
Bye, everyone.